Falafel Pickles. This pickle is actually a vegetable in a brine. A brine we use when we can't produce or coax liquid out, like as in making sauerkraut. We coax the liquid out and we don't actually need to pour a liquid on top. But in this case, these are pretty coarse, they're hard, so it's hard to bring, it's not a soft leaf like a cabbage. But in saying that, as I cut them, I still do the same process and add the little tiny dash of salt, and you'll see that it has drawn out quite a bit of liquid there. So what we have in our Pink Falafel Pickles is the daikon radish and beet, or beetroot as we like to call it. I've used little cookie cutters to be a little bit creative, totally unnecessary, but there's your beet and your daikon. I've got little hearts and stars, so that's all that's in there. It's just a mixture of that, and as I said, each time I cut, I just sprinkle it with a little tiny weeny little dash of salt just to cover it, and in there it goes. Now I'm going to add some peeled, all that is peeled. These are peeled and sliced ginger and just a tiny little bit of turmeric. So we'll mix that through to make it a nice little pickle. These have many uses, and I've got many tips for you in the downloads. They make a lovely little topping on salads. You can add the salads, they're beautiful added with fish, and you can blitz them, make a relish out of them. There's just so much you can do with these. I haven't added any spice. I like them just to produce their own. The fermentation process actually works like producing its own vinegar. So it's got that nice little tang that's all by itself, and you get the little sweetness of the beet come through, and it's just like sweet and sour. It's just so beautiful. So we'll add that to our bottle. That's all we have to do. And then we'll just top it up with a little bit of brine just so that it's totally submerged, because that's the rule of, this is a part of the lacto-fermentation family that will produce all those strains of gut-loving lactic acid bacteria for us. So what we need to do is just keep it submerged. So all you have to remember is if it's covered in brine, all will be fine. And make sure that it's pressed really down tight, so there's no little air pockets there. So that's really all the little rules that there is. Just choose quality produce, salt it, and cover it in brine. Make sure that it's always submerged. Always suffer it. That's the rule of it. So we'll use its own brine that it produced first. And sometimes that will produce enough. If you go away and leave it for a while, you often find that it just produces enough, and it's much more tastier if you do it like that. But today we've done it the quick way, so we are going to have to top it up with a little bit of water. So we'll add a tiny little bit of salt, so no more than a tablespoon for a litre. That's really, really plenty. And we'll just pour that in. And again, we'll use the outside of the daikon as a wedge that will keep it nice and submerged. You can use a glass weight. Dakon's good. Daikons are very neutral in flavour. They don't overpower, and they actually help with the yeastiness that a sweet vegetable can produce, like the beet. So this is a beautiful mix. There we have a beautiful falafel pickle. Look at that. And the colours, you'll watch the transformation of the wonderful little fermenting fairies as they produce for you, and the colours will change until it just goes to a totally rich red. It's just so beautiful. About 14 days. You can check it at about 7 days. Again, put a saucer underneath, and any overflow, don't be tempted to open it up, because we want to keep that environment oxygen free. Our role as a human, remember, is just so small. We just set the environment up, and the mighty invisible organisms do all the work for us. So a little saucer underneath, cover it up so that we keep any light out, any UV light, any sunlight. We need to keep that all out because it'll produce us more vitamins, and that's what we're after. We're after gut-loving goodness. And this is a golden pickle, so this is ready. So this is at its, well, actually it's at about 3-week mark. So that's the weight, so I don't need to use that. And so see, it's still nice and submerged. And these are just a nice little mix of leek and the daikon and a turmeric brine. And there you have it. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So that's it. Still got nice little crunch without being too soft. And the taste, wow, it is just superb.